but I pretty much got to a point to where I'm looking back and I go, I'm improving. Maybe I'm not where I want to be right now, but I'm definitely improving. I don't need to be the best right now. I don't know if it's a society thing. I don't know if it's like a man thing. I don't know what it is, but I was like, why do I want to be the best right now? I don't need to be the best right now. I need to be my best. I need to do what I can do. So I kind of got to a point to where I stopped putting expectations on myself, and as I got better at not having any expectations with me, it allowed me not to have any expectations with the outside world, and I got to a point where I'm so peaceful.
You are now tuning in to the Roughnecks Podcast with your host, Cole Nixon. Much love.
What's up, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of the Roughnecks Podcast. But before we dive into today's episode, we have to talk about Desert Fox Golf. What can I say about this company? They have been great. They have these really cool tumblers that hold 17 ounces of your drink of choice with a nice screw-on lid and a slide top for easy sipping. I may have 4 of these tumblers myself. They may have even made the Roughnecks tumblers for the Roughnecks volleyball tournament we held at Newark Station. But along with these tumblers, they also have something called the Phone Caddy. It is the best phone holder in all of golf. I have one of these. Reno does as well now. It holds your phone in a perfect spot on the golf cart. So say goodbye to throwing your phone in the cubby or in your pocket or even in your bag. You have to check out Desert Fox Golf. Head over to desertfoxgolf.com and see for yourself. And when you make your purchase, be sure to use the promo code Roughnecks for 10% off your order. But let's get into today's guest. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Roughnecks Podcast. Before we get into today's episode, I got to give a shout out to Dante for beating me in fantasy football. I called him out in an episode and bet him that I would win. Should not have done that. My team played like garbage, of course, and his team went off. So good job, Dante. I will be uploading, hopefully, by then, I think tonight. So the day this comes out, tonight, I'll be uploading the consequence of me betting him and losing, of me chugging a 24-ounce beer. Well, that'll be fun. So excited for it. Don't forget, though, the college and NFL shirts are live on the website. You can get those at roughneckspodcast.com. While you're there, subscribe to the newsletter. But let's get into today's guest. Joining me today is someone that used to be a rival back in high school, ended up being a teammate in the all-star football game, and then we also have a mutual friend or two. But without further ado, Josiah, what do you go by, Joey or Josiah?
Joey, Josiah, Jackass, really anything with a J at this point. They point at me, I'll look at that. It's not too much. Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man. It's been one in the works. Definitely been a crazy ride for you, which we'll get into. But originally knew you from high school, where you went to Licking Heights, I went to Watkins. There's that rivalry there. And then you ended up coming and playing in the All-Star game, too. So we played in the Licking County, Muskingum Valley All-Star football game. What would that have been? 5 years? Heck, it's been like 6 years now since we've done that.
Yeah, we're getting old.
It's weird. I keep getting memories on like Snapchat and stuff, and it's like 6 years ago. I'm like, I felt like this was like last year.
Right.
But just to kind of kick off the episode, I allowed a guest to give a background on themselves. So tell us who you are.
I am Josiah Harrell. When it comes to just who I am, really just, I guess, off the wall, a little weird. Happen to be very, very talented and gifted. And that took me so far in football, it took me so far in wrestling. I eventually found my way to MMA and been here for about 5 years, and now we're at the pinnacle of the sport.
How did it kind of kick off? Like, you wrestled in high school, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
So what kind of sparked the interest of deciding to go to the MMA route? Because it wasn't directly out of high school that you did that.
Yeah. No, I wanted to play. I would still play football. Management, Maurice, if you're listening to this, put me on the Browns. But no, I was going and planning to walk off on to Cincy, and then just me. Really, I should have learned how to study better. when I was a kid, but my grades compared to my athletic ability is just off the wall. There's no excuse. Bottom line, I owed Cincy money, had to leave. I ended up driving down from Cincy, contacting every Army recruiter I knew, and then from there, within 2 days, I was in MEPS, getting ready to swear in, and then I had to get my doctor checkup. And MEPS, they wouldn't let me swear in that day because I had a scar on the back of my neck, and they wanted to make sure it wasn't neck surgery. The day after that, I go and help the high school wrestling coach, BJ, and he talks to me. He's like, "No, just dude, it's like you're freaking out right now. It's like obviously football was your dream, kind of got canceled. It's like you're being rash." So he's like, "What do you want to do?" And I go, "I don't know, dude." He's like, "Listen, try something." So then we kind of talked and we made a bet. If I lost in MMA, that I would go back to college to wrestle. I didn't want to cut weight. I mean, now I'm cutting a crap ton of weight, but for wrestling, it wasn't worth it. Like I just didn't enjoy. There's too many limitations, I guess, on wrestling for me to cut that much weight and still have fun. It's just so. Eventually, we just got down the line where all my options got took away, and I go, look, what have I always wanted to do or try at least once? And then MMA just happened to be the thing I wanted to try.
There's a lot of people I feel like that want to try like jiu-jitsu and MMA and all that kind of stuff. Like I've always wanted to get into jiu-jitsu and just haven't yet, but it is going to happen here before too long. And it talked about the cutting weight. I feel like every high school wrestler and even beyond that I talk to, like the Leaves and my buddy Dante, Dante, and all these people, like they were miserable during wrestling season a lot because of the fact that they were constantly like cutting weight. And like I remember I used to eat Dante's lunch at school because his mom used to check if he ate lunch, and he'd buy lunch and then give it to me. I was trying to bulk for football, so it worked out well. But I could still sometimes I was like, dude, you need to eat something. But like kind of what take us through that cutting weight process, because I know there's a lot of people that are probably going to listen that understand it, but why do you have to cut weight? Which I know why, but like why do you have to cut weight, and what's that process like? Like how have you gone to through cutting weight?
I have to cut weight because other people cut weight. So there's weight classes, and then where I would walk at would be 205. So I'd fight pretty much where John Jones used to fight, and he's what 6'4", however much. It's like cool. People that are cutting weight, and he'd come down from like 230 or whatever to fight at that, and if I'm just walking around 205 and he's cutting weight to go to 205, he's a naturally bigger man than me. So then now, let's say I go cut weight at 70 and I'll fight at 70 or 55. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm still making a cut. And then everybody else there is making the cut because everyone else is doing it. So if we can figure out a way to have nobody cut weight, then there would be no reason to do so. But my process for cutting weight is first way is prepping my stomach. So I have to get my stomach smaller than I would like. So I usually fast for a day, 2 days, get my stomach get small, and then I'll start portioning out my meals. So I have 2-3 meals a day, or depending on how long I am away from my cut, I'll have more than that. My calories will be restricted from about 18 to 1,200 calories, depending on how close I am to the fight. But pretty much that the first couple months is just me prepping my stomach and my body to be like, hey, okay, this is how much we eat right now. This is how much we eat right now. So I'm not getting those like super hunger urges or getting to a point where I'm like getting over, I guess, hungry in a way. So first one's just prepping my stomach. Once I'm not hungry and I don't snack as much, it gets so much easier. Everything else is just cardio, conditioning, running. And then the last 2 weeks is where it gets dramatic. Again, I prep my body again, and I water load. I make sure I get 2 gallons in me. That's 16 pounds of water. On top of that, I'm using sauna suits, sweatsuits, and I'm just trying to get as much water as I can. So by the time that I step on the scale, I'm draining 20, 30 pounds of water, and then I step on the scale, get everything off, and then that's pretty much it.
2 gallons of water. See, most people struggle to drink just 1 gallon of water. Is it a struggle, or is it just normal for you?
I'm pretty sure I'm just drinking and pissing all day. I don't even leave the bathroom. The only thing I
That's
do.
the first thing you did when you got here.
Yeah.
You went to the bathroom.
I go, I'm drinking, and then 5 minutes, 5 seconds later, I'm like, I need to use the restroom right now. It's not a struggle, but it's. I'll rephrase this. It sucks. Especially when the water is not flavored. Like, this is where BCAAs come in huge. I'm like, cool. Give me a scoop of BCAAs. Anything but just water. It's like, yes, I can't have the calories. That's fine. I don't care about calories. I don't really care about sugar at this point. I'm just like, give me something that does not taste like water, so I'm not bored. I was like, that's the biggest part, is drinking all that water. You get bored real quick. You go, I'm not going to keep chugging this, but you're like, I need to. So it's the process of it is not super super difficult. It's just so boring, and you're like, okay, well, this needs to be done, and then adding flavors can spice it up a little bit, but it's just the boredom that comes with it. I'm like, I'm not going to keep drinking this, and then obviously every 5 minutes you're just constantly using the restroom.
Yeah, that would be like, I think that's why people struggle drinking water, like that much water, so much, as like it does get very boring. Like, if you have a gallon jug and you just start drinking and you like look and you're like, man, I'm only a quarter of the way through this. I don't even want to taste water right now. Like, it is, but that is a good way for other people that, don't have to worry as much about the calories and the sugar and stuff. If like, just add some BCAAs or make it a little bit flavored, like you're still getting that water intake. That's, yeah, I mean, 2 gallons, that'd be tough for me to do. I mean, I usually do get about a gallon in a day, especially working outside in the heat. Like, this time of year is when it really, I feel like, is a struggle for a lot of people, because like being outside when it's hot, water tastes nice, but when you get colder months, it's like I just want like something hot almost instead of cold. But so take us through the journey of how it started with the fighting career and how it's going now. Like, I guess I'll probably interrupt you along the way, but like kind of take us through the start of it right now.
Yeah, so the start of it, my first fight was Gerald Spawn. I don't even know if he's fighting anymore. I mean, I wish the man best of luck. He's fucking living life. I'm jealous of him. But my first fight was Gerald. He was I think Kent State wrestler. And I was like, damn, okay, well, my wrestling is not as good as his when it comes to, like, if you put list paper. I go, well, we're gonna have to see where my stand up is. So that first fight was me trying to stand up, and eventually towards the third round, it was a back and forth fight. Fucking good. It was probably still to this day one of my hardest fights, which is what I think anybody would want getting into anything. It's like, you want to see if you would want to do what you're doing. Make that first day the hardest day.
Yeah.
Obviously down the line you're gonna push yourself in different ways, but knowing that you're able to push yourself a certain distance definitely helps. But that first fight, we end up tying. So we were back and forth, and I don't even know where we were at, Bell Fountain maybe, but it was just back and forth. And then a month after that, I got another fight. A month after that, I got another fight. As a AMI, I had 6 fights in a year.
Is that standard or is that more than normal?
Oh, that's more than normal. Yeah. Okay. So I was just fighting.
What would standard probably be? Like, what do you think would be normal for most people?
UFC guys usually get about, unless you're a champion, usually get about 2 or 3 a year.
Okay. So, like, did you expect it to take off the way it did, or was it just kind of like, cool, like this is what it works, I'll take it?
Right. No. I wanted to lose. I wanted a reason to go back to college. I wanted a reason to,
It's not an answer I feel like that you would hear typically. Like, that's not, I mean, obviously, you're probably not upset with the way it's turned out, but you definitely, the fact that you didn't necessarily want it to work out is kind of crazy to think about.
It's not that I didn't want it to work out. It's that I wanted to push myself, and if I was going to lose, then it should happen now. Like, if I'm going to lose, take it from me now. I want to push myself. I want to reach as far as I can, and if I can't reach to the greatest heights, I'm going to find something else that I can. So it was more about just pushing myself and not having any expectations. I didn't have any expectations to win, mostly expectations to lose, but that's just because of where my mindset was at. Just very negative. I'm getting better at not being so negative. But no, it's just where my mindset was at the time.
That negative mindset, I feel like, is something that a lot of people struggle with, including myself. Like, I'm not perfect at it. I talk about it a lot on the podcast. And how do you go about trying to, in your opinion, trying to change that mindset of, it's very easy to get down on yourself. It's very hard for a lot of people to pat themselves on the back. So how do you think that you can get, like, it is a good, in your opinion, a way to get around that and trying to change that mindset from negative to a more positive?
I just get to look back and I go, what have I accomplished? Like, what did I actually do? Even if, let's say that they don't mean anything. Let's just say everything, if it's money wise, is a dollar is a good accomplishment, and a penny is just an accomplishment. I go, okay, how much money do I have in the bank? And you go, I don't even know. I don't even know. And then you go and list and go through states and go through high school, go through the college years, and you go, okay, well, there's still not much. You start going through MMA and you're fighting, and you get to a point to where you almost forget that this was negative, and you kind of get a sense, and you start driving. But I pretty much got to a point to where I'm looking back and I go, I'm improving. Maybe I'm not where I want to be right now, but I'm definitely improving. I don't need to be the best right now. I don't know if it's a society thing. I don't know if it's like a man thing. I don't know what it is, but I was like, why do I want to be the best right now? I don't need to be the best right now. I need to be my best. I need to do what I can do. So I kind of got to a point to where I stopped putting expectations on myself, and as I got better at not having any expectations with me, it allowed me not to have any expectations with the outside world, and I got to a point where I'm so peaceful. Like, bottom line, like, am I as happy as I can be? I'm doing what I can do. Am I as fast as I can be? I'm doing what I can do. Am I the nicest person ever? I'm doing what I can do. And whether it's fate, God, probability, like whoever comes into my life, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do what I can do. If that's too much for them, beautiful. If that's too little for them, beautiful. But I'm doing what I can do, and I don't have expectations when it comes to holding on to something or maintaining anything or getting to a point where, like, even fighting. I know there's going to get to a point where 8 years, 10 years down the line, fighting's not going to love me as much as it does right now. Like, I'm not in my physical prime at 30. Let's say, what am I? I'm 24 now. So 6 years is 30. So 8 years I'll be in my physical prime. So maybe a little after that. Let's say 12 years. So I'm after my physical prime when it comes to fighting. It's not going to love me as much. So do I keep trying to force that? Or do I get to a point and just said, I did what I could do. Let's move on and let's go find something else I can enjoy. Most likely going to be like golf or something like tennis or something where I can just not break any bones. Something a little bit more peaceful. But no, I got to a point in my life to where I knew I did what I could do with the information I had at the time, and that was the best I can do. Why worry about anything else? I don't have any regrets. I did what I thought I could. I did what I thought was necessary for my future, and I did what I thought was best for me.
What I like that you really like, one of the things that I really like that you said was how I'm going to be the best for me. I think too many people try to compare themselves to other and try to be the best version of somebody, but the reality is you have to be the best version of yourself. Stop trying to be somebody else. And I'm not saying you can't take goals from like, oh, I want to be at that level, but I'm going to be at that level on my standards of what I am, not compare myself to others. Too many people compare themselves so much to others when that's not. And I think that's part of the negative mindset is like we live in a social media world where you can look at everybody and be like, man, I'm not there. I mean, how many people do we probably went to high school with that these bugs are driving me insane? That we went to high school with that everybody's in a different like state, like as the like state of mind or where they're at in life. And that's how it's supposed to be. Not everybody goes at the same pace. Some people are faster than others. Some people are slower than others. It's just how it works. I really like how you said that. Like, try to be the best version of yourself. You don't have to be everybody else. Just be yourself. But I wanted to kind of, not to change it a little bit, but kind of go into what is your training like? What league did you end up fighting in? Was it what LFA? Is that what it's called?
My last fight was LFA, and then the fight before that was CCFC.
What's the difference between the two? Is it just like just
Um,
the league in general, or
think of it as like be hard to say, but like basically it's like different organizations. Like there's the NFL, and then there's let's say there's a team across the way that they have also another organization. There's a Canada team. It's like these people can get traded to those
okay?
if you sign a contract. I did not sign a contract. You can do a one-off and just fight for them and enjoy that. That's what I did. But it's all interconnected. It's just there's no way anyone from like signed to a company, like let's say if I was signed to the UFC, I'm not able to fight for anybody else until my contract's up.
Okay.
So it's pretty much get to a point where it's like, cool, you have this many fights for this company, and because of your loyalty, you're going to get paid more. So usually the people that are signed get paid a lot more than they weren't. Like people, since I wasn't signed to LFA, people got paid a lot more than I did because they were signed. I don't really care about that. My goal is to get to the best in the world, and luckily we're here now. We just have little bumps on the way that we have to figure out, but other than that, it's smooth sailing. Um, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
It kind of reminds me of almost like the minors and all the different divisions in baseball.
Yes.
So where like you get, I don't want to say called up, but like you can transfer between divisions. But like you said, if you do sign that contract, like you're kind of in that, like you're stuck in that area for a while until your contract's up. So that kind of makes sense. What was what's your training like, and how between, obviously it varies probably a little bit between like the distance of timing of fights and stuff, but what is your training schedule like? Especially I know I see your videos on Instagram all the time. You're constantly doing something, it seems like, but what is your training like leading up to a fight?
My training leading up to a fight is a little bit more intense compared to my normal training. Like my Monday, I went and I did no-gi for about an hour it was like 9 to 10. After that, I go up to Matt's at Immortal and I spar from 11 to 12:30. After that, I get to go home, eat, and then I'm back at the gym at 5. And then I'll be at the gym from 5 to 9.
You essentially live in the gym all day.
Yeah, that's all I do. But that's my job.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, what else? Like people think it's like, oh, dude, you get to like yes, and this is the beautiful thing is I do get to make my own schedule. I don't have any real things that I have to do other than get better. So I get to do what I love to do, which is train. I get to work out hard, which is good for anyone's mental, and I get to focus on what I love, which is like all positives. But the thing is, it's still work. So I still have to put in the time. I still have to put in the effort. Now, the only difference from training camp, like outside of fights and between fights, is one, it's a little bit more specific. So I'll still have the training, but now I'll have pad holding, maybe before jiu-jitsu, and then I'll have a run after my spar, and then like everything's tuned up so I can start losing the weight that I need to, so I can make weight pretty much.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's like the only thing that really changes is the intensity, and then also how many hours I'm putting on my body. So instead of, it's almost, I'd say about 3 extra hours of only like cardio or only sweating, like strictly focused on just getting my weight down, getting my calories burning. So that's the only real difference. I'm still training. Like even now, doctor says I shouldn't train, but I'm training. I got kicked the other day in the face by Matt, and I go, that's a good thing I didn't get knocked out, because that's what they're worried about. They're worried about if I get knocked out, if I get put unconscious, that I'll seize up or stroke out, whichever one comes first. But no, even then, and then Dante Tuesday took my back, and I'm like, well, we got to defend this. So he's on my back. Luckily, I was fighting for my life, but he was on my back for a good 40 seconds, which is a long time to have one of the best grapplers in the world be on your back. I do believe he was being very nice to me, which I appreciate you. Thank you, Dante. But it's like, I'm still doing everything that I probably shouldn't do. In my mind, my back's against the wall. It's like, what do I do? Expect other people in the UFC to not train while I'm recovering or needing to recover or getting surgery? It's like, no, they're going to keep trying to get better. So what options do I have? Do I have, okay, is my body healthy enough to work out? I go, yep. This is all like I was born with this disease, so it's like I was like it hasn't felt any different. So everything's been the same for me. So I go, cool, everything's the same. Body's healthy, mind's healthy. It's like, okay, well, what options do we have? We have get better, don't get better. So if I don't get better, that's going to hurt me down the line, but that's going to save me now. If I do get better, that's going to hurt me now, or possibly could hurt me now, and it's going to save me down the line. So I'm going, I care more about my future than I do now. If I am supposed to go, if I'm supposed to leave this world, then no point in worry about it. I'm going to do what I can do. And if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. And then if it's not, then good. I'm going to get better.
Yeah, you touched on it now, and I will go into it. You know, you got essentially, I believe this is what happened. Kind of is you got. Wow, I am struggling to talk. You got the call from the UFC, going up to fight. They do a lot more tests than most leagues. So, I mean, you're at the top league now. So it's like the NFL, for people that don't know it, NFL, MLB, like you were at the professional level essentially, and they do a lot more tests and then find this brain injury. Kind of take us through like what it is and, you know, just the whole thing, the whole process of one, getting the call and finally being able, like, I made it to where the whole goal probably, I'm assuming, was to get to. Take us through what happened and kind of how your thought process was on it.
For the goal, initially it was to get to the UFC, but as soon as I got the call, within seconds, my mind immediately erased that and go, I want to do what I can do in the UFC, which I think I am the best, or at least that's where I want to head. So I want to get a belt. I want to prove that I'm good. I want to prove to people that if you stay and you're loyal, you work hard, maybe it is a little bit of extra work, but you can get what you want out of the sport. You don't have to go to Florida. You don't have to go to Cali. You don't have to go to these big name locations. Yes, you need to push yourself, and yes, you need to make sure you have people around you that are capable of pushing yourself, but you don't need a crazy team. But so just to move back a little bit, I was actually, let's say it's a Monday. Monday they call me and they're like, "Hey, would you be interested in this?" I go, "Yes." They go, "Okay, hang up." It was a real quick conversation. Didn't even care who I was fighting. I go, "Yes." It's like, and then for people that are like, "Why would you not ask or be worried or go?" At that point, if the NFL calls you and says, "Hey, next week, do you want? If you have an opportunity, would you like to join?" No matter where your skill set is, you're gonna go, "Yeah."
Mm-hmm.
One game, because just for anything, you go, "Yes." Luckily, we've figured out a thing with them. Anyways, so they call me. It's 2 days later, and I go, I don't think the guy will accept the fight. There's no reason to. It just doesn't make sense. I'm a nobody. He's a somebody. Why would you want to chance or risk anything? Because you lose, that's terrible. You win in not a spectacular fashion, that's not a good thing either. So you have to finish me. That as the person accepting the fight, and that's not a good. It's not a good position to be in. So then I just the whole week, it was really 2 days, but it felt like forever. So I'm just going through and going talking to my coaches. I don't think he'll accept the fight. Either way, I'm still running, still getting my weight down, just so I can make weight, just for the possibility, because I go, it's an opportunity. Unless they say I'm not on the card, I can't just take it away. So 2 days go down, and now I am doing a podcast interview with someone, and I'm looking at my phone, talking to my phone, and it keeps ringing. So I'm going from my phone to ringing, going to my phone, and I'm just reading the top of it, and it's my management company, it's my coaches, it's everybody. They're saying answer the phone. I go, dude, I'm busy, and just replying back to them, and I'm going, I'm sorry. And then it was so weird. He goes, when do you think you'll fight again? And I look at my phone, and I see right at the top, they go, Jack accepted the fight. You're fighting next week. And I go, and I respond to this guy. I go, oh shit, I'm maybe fighting next week. He goes like, can you elaborate? And I go, no, I can't. And he goes, wow, okay. And I go, yeah. So we'll see. And I get off there, get my weight down, pack up that day, get shipped off like the next day. They get everything. We fly out. I got my bag, got all my stuff. They have like these black cabs, and the UFC's fucking dope. They got just everything taken care of. They're so organized. It's almost relaxing. You're like, I have so much to do this week, but I know they have everything organized, so I'm good. So it's almost like I got your own little helper, where they're just like, you got this next, this next. So I go through that. We fly, make it into Las Vegas. That day, we're going through, like as soon as we land, going through, and I'm just putting my shit away. I go, okay, what do we have to do today? And pretty much it was just moving it or getting into the room, like getting acquainted, and then losing weight. So I get my stuff on, and I go to the gym, start losing weight. So we go to the PI. That was cool. Next day we have media. We have eye. They have to check our eyes. We have and a brain scan. So we do all that. Everything comes back positive. At least we think so. And then Thursday comes around. They go, "Hey, something came up on your brain scan. You were moving too much." Which, first of all, I didn't even breathe. I held my breath for 30 minutes. There's no way and if you haven't had like an MRI, this thing is going across your head, and it's like a giant circle tube, and they put a helmet on you, and they put headphones on you. This thing is screaming at you. So if you're claustrophobic, close your eyes. That's what I did. And then you're there, and you don't move. They have to scan, and it's not that bad. It's just annoying. You can't relax. They play music. That doesn't help at all. Next day, I'm like, there's no way I did not move. So it's Thursday. Either way, I go back, or they drive me over there. Didn't really have a choice. And they do an EKG test. They shoot me with something that goes in my vein, my arm, and it makes the back of your head hot, and then it makes your throat hot and itchy, and it goes down to your ass crack, makes it hot and itchy, and it leaves through your toes. And it's real weird, not going to lie. But that one was quick. It was 5 minutes. After that, I'm looking at the nurse. I'm like, everything okay? And she gives me like the fakest, oh yeah, everything's okay. And I go, you are a liar. And I'm trying to make eye contact with the doctor, and the doctor's not looking at me. I go, fuck. The negative mindset comes back. I go, I got the worst. I don't know what it is, but I got the worst something. But they didn't say anything, so I leave, and we still have a couple weight to lose, and we still have 2 more tests. I have to get my physical, and I have to get. That may have been it. So I got yeah. So I just had to get my physical. So we get all that shit done. Get to lose the weight. We're weighing in, and this is Friday now. We're weighing in and all that stuff. Make weight. Not very difficult. I'm excited. Everybody's excited. They're like, "Hey, do you want to eat?" I go, "Absolutely not. I'm gonna go lay down." And if you guys have not cut weight, the urges that you guys get wanting to eat is ridiculous. You'll eat until you throw up, and then you'll keep eating again if you do not control yourself. So that's you'll soon realize when you're that low that it's very dangerous to give into your impulses. It's very dangerous to just go, okay, cool, this is what I want, this is what I need. Like, you don't know the difference from what you want and need. Obviously, you need food, but if you try to slam the food down, or if you try to chug the water, everything goes down just bad. You overconsume. It's not good at all. So I go, I'm just going to drink this, and then I'm going to go lay down. So I go lay down. Like I said, we still need our physical. They wake me up. They go, my coach comes, and he's like, hey, we need your physical right now. So I'm like, shit, okay. So I'm looking around. I get out of bed half asleep. He pulls me around. UFC has a guy outside waiting for us. We get drove down to go get our physical by the doctor. He's asking me all these weird questions. We come back. By the time we come back, I have my management company and my other coach, Tim, next to him, and they go, we got bad news. I go, hold on, I got to pee. So the water came back in my system. My body's like, oh, cool, we're not dying anymore. We can pee. So I go and pee, come back. I'm like, all right, dude, what's the bad news? And in my head, I'm going, oh, Jack can't fight. Because we already made it past Wednesday. We already made it past Thursday. Whole different day. We haven't heard anything. They go, you want the good news or bad news? I go, bad news? They go, you have a brain disease called Moya Moya. And what this brain disease does is it lacks blood flow to a certain side of my brain. So my right side of my brain, I have restricted blood flow, and it's a progressive disease that slowly and surely closes off that artery until you have no blood flow. So I don't know what the percentage of blood flow is right now, but it could be from 50 to 99%, where it's just cut off. After that, my first response was, because I was still trying to process it. My first response was, "Am I still in the UFC?" Management company goes, "Yep." I go, "Okay. Is it treatable?" They go, "Yep." I go, "Okay." I go, "Can I fight?" They go, "No." I go, "Shit." All right, well, let's go get some ice cream. And that's what we did. And then as we were walking and getting to the ice cream, I'm processing it, and that's whenever like all the emotions of it hit me. I'm like, damn, I fucking. That's where the negative mindset would come back. You're like, dude, you worked this hard, you did this, you did that, and I go, I mean, what did I lose? My brain keeps telling me, hey, but you didn't get to fight, or my ego, I guess, telling me you didn't get to fight, you didn't get to prove yourself, you didn't get to do that, and I go, but I'm alive. And then my brain will tell me, you worked your ass for 2 weeks just to what? Make weight and not do it? I go, well, so it wasn't for nothing. It's like, we still got the contracts. So it's just me trying to prep and talk to myself. And then I had people from my past reach out to me. I'm like, I'm good. Don't worry about me. But it was, I won't say surreal, but it was definitely weird trying to put all the emotions where they belong instead of just getting angry or instead of just getting sad or feeling like I was like shamed or guilty in some way. So it took a little spin, but I got to a point where I was like, I did what I could do, and then whatever it was, stuff outside of my control, happened to put a stop on it. So I just had to get to a point where I was like, all right, well, like I said, I did what I could do. Nothing else I can do right now. I need brain surgery. That's what it is.
Yeah, and it's crazy because, like you said, you could spin it 100 different ways. It was probably a bottle of emotions that could have gone any different way. Of yes, this is getting taken away from me in a way, but I also wouldn't even have known about this had it not been for this opportunity. It's like there's positives and negatives out of it all. Yes. And that's in every situation in life that you come across, not just this particular circumstance. There's positives and negatives of it all. Like you could very easily been like that everything's over. You could quit, give up on fighting in general.
Mhm.
But being able to take that and turn negative and turn it into a positive in a way of like you've talked about earlier, it could take me away now or it could take me away later. What am I going to sit here and almost like throw yourself a pity party the rest of your life?
Right.
Like, what's the point in that? Where are you going to get to? You're just going to go downhill. You might as well continue to try and be better and hope for your future and continue to strive for better in your future.
I think that that's what hell really is. Whenever you have two options, and let's say, like, heaven forbid, but you have something terminal happen to you, you can spend the rest of your life. Let's say it's 3 or 6 months. You can spend the rest of your life just being sad and saying why me and pointing and doing all that and living in hell, or you can turn it around and go, I'm going to make this the best 6 months, best 3 months of my life, and I want to try to give back to the people that were here for me. I want to try to let them know that I'm sorry I have to go, but I won't forget you. It's like, and that's those are the two options. It's like you can point and try to blame and get mad, and or you can go, dang, I made it this far. That's crazy. I have so many different good people in my life. I say too many, just because of how I was as a child, and the negative parts of me say I don't deserve so many good people. But I tell that guy he needs to shut up sometimes. But so I have so many good people. What do I do? Do I enjoy what I have right now, my time, which is the most valuable thing on this planet? Do I enjoy the time I have right now with the people I love, or do I throw a pity party and try to isolate and try to push people away and get to a point where all I do is focus on me? It's like, stop thinking about yourself for one moment and go, okay, how can I help the people around me?
I like that. And I mean, you see it all the time. People that get cancer or whatever it may be, like you said, if it's terminal, where that's when they go do all the things that they've always wanted to do. And it sucks that I don't know how to say this without it sounding bad, but it sucks that it comes to that for a lot of people to go do it.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's one of the things, like seeing people like that, that should be an inspiration to all of us. Like, hey, you're only guaranteed X amount of time on this earth. Why are you sitting here saying, I just posted a thing today that said someday is not a day of the week. So stop wishing and start doing it. Like you don't have, like, quit saying someday I'm going to do that. Just start doing it. And that's like something that I feel like you do a lot. Like you, and I'm sure this circumstance kind of helped propel that too. Of why am I going to sit here and wait when I could just take control now and just keep going? What was it, kind of switching gears a little bit? What was it like, kind of not just like the UFC stuff, but also like in general of seeing your stuff on you throwing people through a cage and seeing your stuff on social media like ESPN and all that kind of, what was that feeling like? Was it like, cool, this is awesome, and or how was it, I guess, like seeing you on ESPN and all that kind of stuff?
This is the thing with ego and how it is. It goes two ways. So the same ego that's very negative and self-talking is the same ego that says, oh, what you did wasn't good enough, or even they aren't good enough, or getting to a point to where you're just, you know, you can do better. So I look at it and I go, stop. What if there's no tomorrow? How is that? And I go, I absolutely needed to go through that cage. Whatever God, probability, fate, whatever happened, the UFC would have not called. I would have not gotten this brain thing figured out until, who knows, 2 years, 3 years down the line, which could have been even worse, having 3 or 5 more fights. So I needed to go through that cage. So first of all, that moment was perfect. That's as good as it gets. Not only perfect as in like everything happened right. No, not perfect because it was my life. No, perfect because everything needed to happen that way for me to get what I needed out of life. And whether it's a negative or whether it's a positive, whatever emotion you're going through, that's all you're tying. That's all you're tying to that moment is negative or positive. But no matter what, every single moment you go through is perfect for you, especially if it's out of your control. It's like the things that are out of your control, like going through the cage. Like nobody planned that. It's those are the things that set you up for life down the road. Or if you deal with a breakup, it's like those are the things that set you, because maybe you need motivation. Maybe you need an outside view of going, hey, I am not where I want to be. And you were just happy enough, or you were content enough to stay where you were at, and not realizing you didn't want to be there because you had certain people in your life. So it's like no matter what, every moment that I kind of went through and played back through my life, I go, I needed that to happen. And not to sound like egotistical or anything, I go, my life is perfect. I go, whether I die tomorrow or whether I live tomorrow, cool, that's for tomorrow. Today I'm going to do what I can do, and just looking back on like going through the cage and everything, it got to a point where I needed that to happen.
How did that, was the cage just like, was the door just not latched enough, or did you literally just take him through the door?
So there's like a 2-prong system that cages need to have. So this one happened to be gravity fed. So it goes lock and then it turned. So that was a 2-latch system. So it needed to be turned right or left 45 degrees. And then it needed to be brought up latch wise. And it just happened that I hit the cage perfect enough to where it bounced it up. So causing enough force for that latch to bounce up, and then causing me lifting through the cage to turn it. So it just happened to be like, it's because the cage, I don't think the cage wasn't broken.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it did break, but but from what I'm getting, they can't charge me. I don't think. Hopefully, they can't charge me.
It's not your fault, is it?
Yeah. So from what I'm getting from it, it was a gravity fed system, and then I just happened to hit it at the perfect time, at the perfect angle, and it's another 1 in a million thing that needed to happen, and I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, when I saw, it's funny because like I have it happen from time to time of people that I know, like you, and people I put against in football and basketball, and all those times where I'll be like watching a video and I'm like, oh wait, I know that guy, and I was like watching it, and then like, and it's also some of those points, like especially if you follow him, like you're like, oh, Joey posted it. Wait, that's ESPN. What the hell? So it's like it's cool to see that, and I sent it to Josh right away because I know Josh Martin. He went to college with me. We played football for a little bit at Ohio Wesleyan, but I sent it to Josh and I was like, what the hell is Joey out here doing? Trying to break people? What happens? Like, do they just pause the fight for a second?
That's actually never like that hasn't happened ever.
I don't think I've ever seen
Yeah.
I feel like those are definitely videos that will surface if that happens, but I've never seen somebody take somebody through the door of the cage.
Right. So whenever we got back through the cage, ref goes straight up to me, goes, "We're going viral." I go, "Yes, sir." He goes, "You all right?" I go, "Yes." And before I say anything else, that was my favorite ref. He was very professional, very comical. He added some life to it, and it's just like it wasn't like the mundane. Hey, watch this, watch this. He's always like, "Yep, that was it. That was it. Good." So he added his own personality to it, which I thought was what it. That's what creativity is doing something simple and adding your personality to it. So he was doing that, and I had a good time. He had a good time. Mike had a good time. But we go through the cage. I get up. I go, woo! And I'm looking at the camera, which is really where my teammates at, and they're going, and they're staring at me and just off. And I'm wiping my nose because I get punched in the face a bunch. And we turn around. Ref comes up to me. He's like, "Dude, we're going viral." And then he goes and checks on Mike. Mike comes back, says he's good. They lock the cage. Cage says he's good. The ref wanted to line us back up on the cage and start there. I go, no, we're good. We're good. And you can kind of see me talking to the ref. So we just reset from normal. And I think that was probably the best thing you could do. Because like nobody else did anything. Like you can't look and go, what do we do in this situation? Some people were like, oh, you should have stopped the fight or this or that. And you go, no, we both wanted to fight. We're both in shape to fight. It's like, yes, we got adrenaline going up, so we really can't feel all our bumps and bruises, but we wanted to finish the fight. We still had something to prove. And we're both alive. Ref's good. Cage is good. So what else is there? Restart the fight. So
I'm sure that after that happened, especially in its surface and everything, probably Dana White was like, all right, we need a rule for if this happens. Cause like, if this does happen, there is there's nothing that's like, this is what you're supposed to do. That's you created new rules essentially.
Oh, they should make. I mean, if they make a rule where if you get out of the cage, that you lose, I'm throwing people over the cage.
And you can too. That's the thing. I've seen your stuff. What would be your favorite way to like win a fight? Knockout, submission? Like, what is your personal favorite? Like, do you prefer standing or do you prefer the ground? Like, what is your fighting style per se?
Style is as petty as it gets. What are you bad at? Okay, that's what we're gonna do. When it comes to what I prefer, I haven't had that question ever asked to me. What do I prefer? My base is wrestling. Obviously, I am getting better at stand up, and I know that there's going to be people better than me at stand up. I know there's going to be people better than me at grappling. So when it comes to, it's going to vary in each situation to what I would prefer. But like I said before, whatever they're bad at, whatever I think I can take the fight, and I'm not here to have fun. I'm going to enjoy myself, but that's just because I'm weird. And I think anybody that kind of gets in the cage is weird. It's like you either like hurting people or you just enjoy pushing yourself. Either way, I'm not here to slack on anybody. But my fighting style is a little all over the place, more grappling than anything. I have a lot more submissions. If I had to prefer a way, it would probably be submission, only because that's the safest way to get that guy out of there. But I haven't had a strict, like, go to sleep KO, and I'm scared that if I do get that, then another part of me is going to be like, that's what we want to do to everybody. Just send them to the nethers, and who knows how far we're going to take that.
Yeah, that would be putting someone, like literally putting someone to sleep. I feel like at first you'd be like, holy shit, and then you'd be like, okay, that was kind of cool. Like, it'd be one of those that, like, when it first happened, like, and you see them drop, you're like, of course, then again, like, you see it all the time. You don't necessarily always know. Like sometimes you're hit, and like you see the videos of people like the refs have to come in and separate it because you can't always see like, and is that what you're trained to do? Like you don't stop until you get told to stop.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you don't stop until the bell rings or until someone pulls you off. If they're not pulling you off, like sorry about this guy.
Yeah.
It's and I'm a little nicer. Some people aren't. If I see somebody out, like if I choke somebody unconscious, I'm not gonna keep choking them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, yo, ref, he's out. And some people will take that opportunity to keep trying to choke them. But like everything in life, it varies by the person that's doing it. So some people are a little bit more aggressive. Some people want to actually hurt people, and then some people like to push themselves. I like to push myself. Part of me likes to hurt people. Part of me doesn't like it. But for the most part, I like to fight because I like to push myself.
How much like does the ref talk to you guys during a fight? Like, and what is he talking about?
He's just making sure we're aware of the rules. Depending on the ref, they'll talk a little bit more, a little less. Um, you usually don't get much talking unless you're ground and pound, getting ready to finish. Like unless somebody's in a bad situation. Hey, Blue, you need to cover yourself. Blue, you need to protect yourself. Blue, you need to cover yourself, protect yourself. So the refs will give you warnings, and if you're not responding back as in defending yourself, they'll stop the fight. Or if you're like taking somebody's back and you're hitting close to the back of the ears or like hitting somebody in the back of the spine and the back of the head is illegal. So they'll go, that was close. That was close. That was good. That was good. Good shot. They'll basically say like what you're doing is legal. Other than making sure that everyone's aware of where the fight's going, like, hey, blue, red, you need to protect yourself. Because that's the ref's job, is to make sure we get out of there as safe as possible. So as long as we're both protecting ourselves, the ref's not going to say much. Everything else is making sure we're following the rules.
How much talk is there between fighters? I know that varies depending on the fighter, but like you see people like Khabib or like other people that used to do it a lot. How much talk do you experience during the fights between the other fighters?
I talk to my coach. He'll talk to me because they talk shit. And my coach in my corner talks shit, and their coach in the corner talks shit. So I'm just getting bullied the whole time. So everyone thinks, "Oh, Joey, you're having a good time." It's like, no, I'm getting bullied the whole time. Their coach is talking shit. My coach is talking shit, and that's all it is. Because my coach is trying to do it out of the goodness of his heart. Hey, you have this. Hey, you have that. Hey, check this. And I go, you're just talking shit to me the whole time. And then the other coach is little. So right before I went to the cage with Mike, his coach was going, hey, 1-2 like Leon, and you'll see me point at him before I do the 1-2 and kick. And then I point and I go, thanks, coach. And I'm talking to his coach. And then Mike kind of lines up to the cage, and then I shoot that double right before we go through the cage. So like 3 seconds before that, I was talking to their coach, and that's why I pointed. And that's why a lot of people thought it was fake, because they go, you pointed to the cage and he moved there. I was like, I don't know. I didn't even know the cage door was there. I was talking shit to his coach. But it does vary through people. I talk to my coaches, and I'm like, chill. Okay. All right. I got you. Thank you. Or if they're talking shit to me, I'll talk shit back. But I don't mind chatting. It doesn't really take me out of my zone or my element, just because I'm already all over the place always. Like if you can't tell by how I talk, I'm always all over the place. So it's like it varies by if talking will take you out of the element of where you need to be, like flow wise. Like, but for me, I don't mind chatting at all.
What's that feeling like the day after a fight? Because I know football feelings after the day after a game is like the soreness and everything. Obviously, they might be comparable, but not on the same level. Kind of what is that? What does the body feel like and everything the day after?
The day after, you'll get your bumps and bruises. You definitely start feeling it, especially if you kick a lot. You'll start feeling your calf or your shin. You're like, okay, yep. You'll start feeling places that, like, you'd be like, why does my hip hurt? And then you'll like play it back and be like, okay. In the fight, I didn't think that did anything. Now, like, it didn't hurt. It physic like physically, it depends on like how much and how back and forth you guys are. Usually, that's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue for me is mentally. And then that's where the negative mindset comes in. Was all that work that I did for really 6 months, 3 months worth 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 15 minutes in the ring? I go, is that worth it? And then obviously the negative part of me is like, oh, I don't think so. So it just depends. For me, more mentally, I'll get I'll get a little depressed after fights.
Damn. That's so. Why do you feel? Is it the mental side of things? Of is it all worth it? Is that why you kind of get depressed? And like, how do you kind of flip that switch to get back into the training side of things and all that kind of stuff?
You're gonna have to ask me that question. I gotta piss.
You're good. What's up, everybody? I wanted to interrupt today's guest episode for a quick second and tell you guys about Roughnecks merch. If you head over to roughneckspodcast.com, grab yourself some Roughnecks gear. We have many different types of options. There are t-shirts, long sleeves, sweatshirts, hats, coffee cups, tumblers, and much more. My personal favorite is the Take No Bull shirt or the classic black Roughnecks t-shirt. That was the first merch ever sold, so if you were looking for an original, that is the way to go. Buying merch and wearing it out is one of the best ways to support the podcast, so head over to roughneckspodcast.com and grab yourself some Roughnecks merch. Let's get back to today's guest. So how do you kind of like go about getting out of that depressed stage, I guess, essentially is what I'm asking.
That funk, it's different depending on who's around me or how it is. If it's like my family and the people I love, I kind of just remember that I'm not here for me. They did what they could, and they came and supported me. So usually I'm just like, okay, cool, we're going out, we're going to have a good time and enjoy myself. I stop thinking about me. Whenever I get to the points to where I am a little depressed or I'm a little sad, I stop pointing the finger at me and I go, who can I help? Because then that kind of gets me out of the funk.
I like that. It seems like you think about yourself when the time is needed, but you also consider others. That's something that I think a lot of people struggle with, including myself. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm great at it, but like when we're pissed off at ourselves, a lot of people take it out on others. It seems like you try to avoid that at all costs. Like you really think like this is not their fault for why I'm feeling this way,
Sure.
so I'm not going to take it out on them.
Yeah, I grew up and I kind of made a joke before of not really having a preference. I grew up in a household to where I was kind of the scapegoat, so I got blamed for a lot of stuff, and I kind of like in my head as a child, I kind of thought that as long as I kept doing what I needed to do to keep the peace, that everything was good. So I act the way I do mostly from trauma, I guess. And now as an adult, I'm going, okay, well that is me now. So do I go and I try to rework it, or do I make it healthy? And that's it. So it's no longer like, okay, I understand that right now as an emotion. I understand emotions fleet, they come and go, they ebb and flow. I understand that. Now, is this emotion my fault, or is this emotion their fault? Even if they said something that triggered that emotion, I go, no, that's my fault. So they said, let's say they called me fat or whatever, and I go, okay, well, I think I'm fat. Why, like, fuck you, or however that is. So now I'm projecting my emotions that are from me out onto the world. And the thing is usually, especially people that you are more comfortable with, loved ones, people you have a better relationship with, those people can bring out those emotions more than other like mundane people. Like some random dude can call me fat. I mean, fat's not a thing. I don't really care if I'm fat or not. But like just in general, like people could make fun of you and you wouldn't care. But someone that you care about makes fun of you in the same way, and doesn't come off or like it's a joke or whatever, and you will soon see go, okay, one, if it's hurting your feelings, it's probably true, and then two, you go, I'm gonna hurt you just as much as you hurt me. But I wanted to get out of that mindset of wanting to hurt. Like I don't want to cause pain. I understand what it feels like to be lonely. I understand what it feels like to be disregarded. I understand what it feels like to be in a hopeless situation and not be able to fight back. I understand. So it's more of an understanding from childhood and up until now that not a lot of people get to have a choice, and you'll have your own places and own kind of adventures where you understand you don't have a choice, and now you have two options. Do I let my internal dialogue, my internal world affect your internal world just because I'm going through something? Or do I go, cool, they're having a good time. I have two options. I can either try to ruin their good time because of how I feel, or I can try to hop on board and enjoy what we have right now. And it's pretty much just getting to a point where it's like, why? Not even, like, I don't care to rock the boat. Obviously, I fight people in cages. But it's like, why ruin this moment we have now if all we have in these in this little life are small moments? So why would I ruin this small moment that could be the most special for us because I'm feeling a certain way that will go away? And then obviously if it keeps coming up, then that's a problem. I'm gonna have to chat and talk and do all that. But that's a conversation we can have indoors. That's not a conversation we can have outside or in public or however it is. So it's like even going through different things, most of it's like, okay, I appreciate you. Even like let's say like we're drinking outside and we're out in public and you said something that pissed me off. I'll let you know like, hey boss, that ain't the move. Whatever it is, I'll just tell you that, and then I'll continue going out for the day. And after we got home or whatever, I'm like, yeah, it was this and that, and I know you didn't mean it like that, but that's how it came across and that's how I felt. That's why I kind of just checked you or whatever. And you're like, yeah, cool. Instead of going, oh, fuck you, what is this? It's like, instead of letting my internal dialogue and my negativity increase this, and everybody's a little different, but instead of letting my negativity increase whatever's going down into a conflict, I can go, I'm good right now. I just need some space or however it is. And some people don't need space. Some people need to handle it right then and there. And everybody's a little different. But it's basically just getting to a point where I understand how I need to get rid of emotions or how I need to handle my emotions. So it's an understanding of oneself and then applying that to real world situations. Like I said, other people do things a little differently.
If you let your emotions at that in the moment affect your reaction, especially like something like that, where somebody says something where that maybe it didn't come off like rude or disrespectful, but it did, and then you let your internal dialogue, your emotions control how you react, usually that's going to cause more harm than good. Mm-hmm. The way you talked about it, where you're like, hey, kind of nip it in the butt real quick, like, I didn't like that, don't say that, and then explaining yourself later on, one, it allows your emotions to calm down, and you might actually be able to resolve the situation. A lot of times, how many times do you see people get into fights or altercations, and then they separate themselves because they never, like, I've seen people before, like, oh, I hate that guy, screw that guy. When in reality, you could have ended up maybe solving the situation, and if you don't know the person, maybe making a new friend or somebody that you actually do get along with, and you just don't know it. But if you allow your emotions to control your reactions, more harm than good is going to come out of it usually.
Absolutely. No, it made me laugh a little bit. I don't even think I can hate. I don't think that's like a place in my heart. But holding grudges is not me. So I think that's why I do things like that, because I know a year down the line, 6 months, 3 months down the line, if we meet again, you may be irritated. It's over my head. I've already forgot about it. I've already made it make sense in my head. I'm like, oh, they were pissed off. Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe a family member died or something like that. Like, I've already pieced the puzzle together and go, cool. That's kind of what happened, and I'm fighting for them in my head. Like, I don't fight for myself much. I go, okay, this is how it happened. Maybe they felt this way, or maybe I didn't say enough, or I understand myself well enough to I'm like, okay, let me see where they're coming from. And if they don't talk to me, I'll put that puzzle together and I go, I understand. No worries. And then we see each other 6 months, 3 months down the line. I go, how you doing? And they still hold that grudge. I'll completely forget. I'm like, what's up, dude? What's wrong? You know what's wrong. I'm like, mm-hmm. So that's just how I am.
Yeah, it's a good way to be. It really is. Like, not saying I'm perfect at it. I do hold grudges, but I've got a lot better as I've gotten older. I feel like about shortening those grudges. Like, yeah, you can be pissed off for a short amount of an amount of time, but try to make that time as small as possible, because burning bridge, it's a lot harder to rebuild bridges that you burn down. Like, it's easier just to build the bridge once and not have to try and do it again. Mm-hmm. So burning bridges is something that I personally have been working on not doing as I get later in life. But I wanted to kind of ask you, is there a fighter that you look up to? Is there somebody that you've always looked up to, or do you just kind of coast off of your mentality and that kind of things, or is there somebody that you do look up to?
I take specific attributes from different people. Like I like, um, it just depends. Woody Pep or is it Woody? Woody. He's an old boxer. His footwork, Lomachenko's footwork, um, Adesanya's range, um, and his feints. I like how he moves. It's like Volkanovski when it comes to like him being able to mesh everything together and his mindset and his mental fortitude. Not to mention his cardio. Um, O'Malley with how he moves when it comes to striking and even his grappling slick. I like how slick that stuff is. So I take different um, attributes and personalities from different people that I enjoy, and I don't just do this with fighting. I do this with everything, especially if I want to get good at something. And I'll kind of not study, but I'll just learn and I'll take what I enjoy from it. Even if I don't understand the concepts fully, I'll go, cool, I like that. And then if I have to learn the concept later on, I go, wow, maybe I don't like that as much as I did. This will fit for me. So it's more of I let my ADHD take a hold, and I'll get hyper fixated on different things. But for me, I like different attributes from different fighters because I feel like taking all these attributes, I'm kind of putting a character together, and that character is me.
Do you rewatch your fights and like almost like watching film and football or whatever? Is that something that you do, or is it just kind of stuck in your head anyway?
Every now and then I'll watch a fight. It just depends. I don't have as much footage as I would like. Like I don't. I, there's probably a way for me to go back and get my footage just so I can make like highlights or however it is. But no, I watched my last fight a couple times just because I enjoy defensively where I was. Like just mm, that whole fight defensively, I was very sound, and I was more excited about that than the damage that I did to him, or even going through the cage. I was excited on how um, I was able to stay safe. I'm like, cool.
Last question I'm going to ask you about the fighting is well, in general for you, I guess, is what is next? What do you have planned next? I mean, obviously, I know some of that depends on some things, but what is your goals going forward?
Boom. Debut will be in 2024. That would be fine. Still training, still doing everything. I'll be getting shipped off to Stanford soon to finish our testing, and then hopefully we'll have our surgery November, December, at the latest December. Um, but what's next is getting my brain taken care of, recovery, and then as soon as I can recover, I'm signing up to fight.
Love to see it. Looking forward to it too. I haven't been watching as much UFC lately, but that'll give me a reason to watch for sure. I have a few questions that I do like to talk to about with every guest, and one of the question that I ask every single guest is a fun one, and I didn't tell you about it. I purposely don't tell my guests about this one, but if you could go back in time and tell your 16-year-old self one thing, what would it be?
Even if you think it's going to hurt, go for it.
And that's not just physically, that might be mentally as well,
Absolutely.
because there's a lot of things that I feel like I personally held back from, like especially in high school, because I was too afraid of like failing or like being embarrassed about it. And it's like it that's how you grow. Like think of the gym. When you work out, it sucks, but it's tearing your muscles down to build them back stronger. That's exactly like when you get tore down, when you go through that pain, whether that's physical, mental, whatever kind of pain it is, you're growing from it. So pain's not always necessarily a bad thing. It's usually it'll transcribe on the other side to something good, which this kind of leads us perfectly into my favorite segment of the podcast, which is Motivation Monday. Motivation Monday is the point in the episode where I allow the guests to give the Roughnecks listeners a little inspirational bump to set the tone for their week as they listen on Monday morning. So what do you got for Motivation Monday?
It's the things that you don't expect from life that give you the value of life. The more you expect, the more you try to take, and the less you try to give, the less you will get. the more you can give to the people around you, the more you can give to the environment around you, the more you will get from life. It's a simple transaction.
You can't force it. That's a lot of people try to force relationships, try to force losing weight, try to force the gym, try to force it. Like, just go with it. And I like how you talked about giving, because you're a very giving person, whether that is actually giving things or just giving me the time of day to come record, like these kind of things. The more you do that, you are more likely to have good things happen to you that you didn't expect to have happen, maybe not expect, or you did expect it. But if you expect everything to be given to you and like, oh, I'm only doing this so I get this, that you're doing it out of the wrong frame of mind. Do it for the good of your heart. Like, do it for the good reason of just doing it.
Absolutely. I think the more expectations, the more assumptions you have of something, the less fun you get to have. The thing is when you go into an unknown territory, when you go into a place to where you don't know what's going to happen, that is where you'll get the most out of yourself. If you go into something and know it's going to be bad for you, the only thing you're going to be looking for is bad things. If you go into something and think it's going to be good for you, the only thing you're going to be looking for is good things. You need to see things from what they are, not to see things how you think you should see them. Take yourself out of the equation and go, what is happening right now? What is this person showing me? What is this environment showing me? Is this what I need? And then you list facts, you list things, and then you add your emotions and you go, cool. If this is going to work out the way I want it to work out, this needs to happen, or that needs to happen, or this. It's like, add your emotions later if you can. It's like the more you try to add your expectations into an equation, the less you're going to get out of it.
And I feel like it's important to have expectations for yourself, but when it comes to doing things, like I like that you said, I take your expectations out of it, and whatever you get is what you earn. So just stop saying like, oh, I was shorted this, or I should have got this, or this should have happened. You could say a million different things, or you should have been the UFC quicker, you should have, but like all these things. But if you sit there and just expect, you're never going to actually, I feel like, get to where you want to get. But Joey, thank you for coming on the podcast. Where can people find and follow you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at Josiah Harrell MMA. Other things, we allowed to talk about Pornhub?
Probably not.
That was a joke. That's pretty much it. I'm mostly on Instagram. I don't get on Twitter much. I don't even know if I have a Twitter.
I deleted my personal Twitter.
Makes sense. But no, find me on Instagram. Reach out if you want me to come by and do not like a private, but a seminar. If you want me to come out and do a podcast, I'm down. This is the best time to do so. I have as much free time as I'll ever have, and that's something I'm grateful for.
Yeah, I'll definitely be posting the links in the episode description. Don't forget, just a real quick reminder, the college and NFL shirts are on the website. I'm actually wearing my Ohio State one as we speak. While you're on the website, subscribe to the newsletter. You will get discounts. I've been posting discounts in the newsletters, so if you want some discounts, go check out the newsletter. But until Friday, you guys know the deal. Life is hard, and it's going to knock you down just like a bull does to a bull rider. Don't let that bull of life walk all over you. Get up, grab the bull by the horns, and take control of your life. Roughnecks, out. Thank you guys for listening to today's episode of the Roughnecks Podcast. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you enjoyed it, one of the easiest ways to support the podcast is to just share the show. Send it to a friend and go to your favorite listening platform and leave a rating and review. It would be much appreciated. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter on roughneckspodcast.com and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Roughnecks, out.